We are going to keep it quick because it's our job as the last panel to open for Carlos Cashman, who's a lot more interesting than we are. Love you, bro. Also, we have some different accents in here. Chi's voice is just like the most sultry voice in the world, so I'm going to try to channel that right now. Anyway, who are you guys? And do you have a challenge of the one-sentence elevator pitch? If there's a period, I'll just like buzz you a little bit. And there's no investors in the room, so you can be completely relaxed. Stefan?
Super relaxed.
Yeah, we'll start with you,
Perfect.
because you're the youngest.
So, Young Platform is the biggest crypto exchange in Italy, with over 2 million users registered, focused on education and compliance.
That was quick.
It's quick?
That was good.
Quick enough.
And why do you wish you were an AI company?
We're not looking for AI.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
You said that on the record.
Exactly.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
brave.
Yeah. Well, he was crossing his fingers behind his back. All right, Francesco,
Exactly.
let's go. We got 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Sorry, I know it's my fault.
So R-Square is a fractional investment platform that allows you to buy shares of blue chip art and collectibles. So you can invest in art the same way you invest in stocks on the financial market.
How many users do you have?
We have around 15,000 users.
That's so many more than anybody else has. That's cool. I mean, less than you, but that's pretty cool.
Less than him as well, man.
She's
That was
just
not a
going to
good
brag backstage every 2 seconds. He's like, look, one, I've had a lot of coffee. We don't have a lot of coffee in Nigeria. I got to go to the bathroom so badly. And two, I have 4.7 million users. Anyway, your turn.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nnadi. I'm the CEO founder of Mara. You can call us a Coinbase of Africa. What that means is we're a financial super wallet built on our own chain, our own layer 2. We launched December of last year. We at launch with 3.8 million verified users, and now we've grown to 4.7 million. Yeah, it's a full stack.
Okay, that's a lot of sentences. How did you verify those users, Bob? Did you do the eyeball thing?
No, we didn't. But we verified with phone and email.
Okay.
And such, yeah.
Cool. So I think one thing about startups is that you should never kind of look at a startup outside the context of its market and where it operates. And we've had some fascinating discussions about where you guys are and why it's so important in your space. But honestly, if you just look at it from like, oh, this is a crypto company, or this is an exchange, or this is an art marketplace, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'd love to hear from you guys on what's one thing you could educate the audience on about your market, which would help us understand why you're spending so much time on this thing.
So basically, since the beginning, we focused on education because specifically in Italy, there is a lack of financial education. So we start basically building an educational product that can help people understanding, first of all, what mean investing, and then what's the tech behind the cryptos, because obviously we think that the crypto asset market is not just speculative. There is real use cases behind that, and this is what we are trying to pass to the final user. We are not focused, as all the other exchanges, on trader user, but we are talking to the mass market user. What does this mean? That we are trying to acquire users that have just heard about crypto and never invest in it, trying, first of all, teaching them the basic notion of the ecosystem of the blockchain technology, and then giving them all the tools to join this, let me say, new revolution. So this is, in general, what we are trying to do. On the other side, we are trying also to focus a lot on compliance. Europe has been probably the first mover as a continent regarding regulation, and we are trying to build an European group that can in some way solve the main problem that offshore companies and giants from other continents are bringing to the market. So no real reference to anyone. So in long story short, we are trying to avoid user losing money on crypto. What does this mean? That the main strategy we are trying to teach them is the buy and hold one in order to build a wealth in crypto, despite all the other exchanges that are trying maybe to sponsorize more and more leveraged product that usually for a newbie user can be really damaging, specifically for their portfolio.
Is it good to have young people? You're focused on young people, right?
Yes, I would say so. Obviously, not on the low tier, because an 18 years old doesn't have enough money to invest. Our main audience is the millennials generation, so around 25 to 34. So we're starting on that.
Cool. So what's going on with the art market?
I mean, on our side, it's kind of similar. In terms of education, we are focusing on the financial aspect of art. Art is used as an edge, is used as collateral. People don't know how vast is the universe of financialization of art. That's why we built a Square as a fintech platform where we apply all fintech blockchain features, having art as an underlying asset. So we have the fractional investment, allowing you to invest just in a portion of the artwork. We have the possibility to receive a passive income through the artwork, thanks to integration with DeFi, and on and on. In terms of, again, education, there is this new, and also in terms of target audience and young generation that are looking at different way of investing, we are looking at the new breed of art collectors and investors, people that are used to do everything digital, that are used to use crypto to buy even a flat via their smartphone. So we thought, why don't create an ecosystem, a platform when you can buy art, learn about art, and specifically invest and start creating your diversification and have also this asset class in your portfolio, leveraging on the blockchain.
How much of it do you think that it's cool to own art versus I like gambling a lot?
Well, look, we try, I'm going to quote a friend of mine here, we try to create something that is not like, we have some gamification features, but we're talking about art. So it's not like you're investing in Shiba, it's not you're investing in Dogecoin. You are investing in Warhol, Jeff Koons, something that is very substantial. And also we are allowing people, this is very important, to invest in physical art and not only digital art. So we are very far away from the speculative digital assets like the NFTs craziness, if you want to call it bubble, that we saw in 2021. So if people are coming to look for that kind of experience on our platform, they are disappointed because the volatility of this asset is much lower than what we see with crypto. So we try to combine two worlds that are far, but in terms of technology can be a good match.
Kind of following on the digital physical kind of divide in the panel earlier, a lot of people have worked on, say, bringing baseball cards and things like that to the blockchain. It's quite hard to actually tie that product to the blockchain physically. Is it easier for you to actually tie, say, physical art that's worth so much to the
It's the same thing. I don't see why it's difficult. Like
okay.
people are
like it's easy.
People are connecting to the blockchain T-shirts. All the big fashion brands are connecting to NFTs, their chains. It's just a different way to encrypt the information about an asset in a vault. In art, usually you have a piece of papers that justify the value of the artwork and the authenticity of the artwork. We put this information on the blockchain in a sort of data room. We call it art repository, and they are eternally, perpetually linked. So if you have that artwork, you must have also that token that represents your ownership. So I really don't understand the argument that it needs to be difficult. The first time we spoke about our Square at some conference in France, actually quite institutional, it was journalist from the Financial Times. Somebody from the audience asked, this is 2019, so how do you do the mining of the artwork? Oh, man, you don't need to, when you drive the car, you don't know what's going on inside the engine. Okay, some people do, but this curiosity this need of creating difficulties and putting barriers where there aren't with innovation drives me crazy.
Speaking of a place with lots of random barriers to things, you operate in Nigeria, Chi, and we've been talking a lot about the challenges, but also the advantages of doing business and doing business there. What do we need to know about Nigeria and why you're building there, and what's going on in the zeitgeist of everything going on?
Well, I mean, I'll start with some of the information that I guess most people know. There's 1.25 billion people in sub-Saharan Africa. 228 million of them are in Nigeria. I'm Nigerian, so just as a background. And then the population for most of sub-Saharan Africa, actually all of sub-Saharan Africa, including Nigeria, 50% of your population is under the age of 30. So you're talking about, a continent full of Zoomers, right? But an interesting thing about building in Africa, in Nigeria, that makes it different from elsewhere, is that because of those demographics, we don't have an age group of 50-year-olds who are legacy of the system. We actually have a very small cadre of 50-year-olds, and most of them that are in places of power were educated abroad. So their mindset is, how can we use this technology to create value for Nigeria, which is opposite what you're going to see in most of the world, because they're trying to hold the system in. So it's actually really interesting, something that I saw from the beginning, because you're looking at the people who are in, let's say, the governors of the central bank and those folks. People coming into those positions in Africa are actually, you got to remember, they're 50, 60 years old. Like many of the people in the room, they've seen tech over the last 30 years really come into its own, and they're looking at, one of the things we have to remember about Africa is we don't have a lot of the physical infrastructure built. We don't actually trade with each other at all. So we have an opportunity to build physical to digital, build the digital infrastructure as our physical infrastructure. So that comes to cross-border finance, trade, all of those things can and will be built in the next 10 years, because there's nothing for us to hang on to as the past. And the people who are in power are, for the most part, educated abroad and are counterparts of many of the people in the room and are accountable to many of the people in the room. They might have worked at Goldman Sachs in the 90s when they were in their 20s, and now they're running the central bank or running the stock exchange. So that's really exciting, and most people can't even see that because they're living in countries where the legacy institutions are trying to hold back Web3.
This is such an interesting example of a situation where, while it may be harder to do many things there, in this case, you have a cultural dynamic that makes it much easier to move quickly.
Yeah.
On that note, is it possible for you to get out of Nigeria and expand, or are you just going to ride the massive population explosion and make infinite dollars?
Well, I mean, one of the reason why I got into blockchain was because I saw it as a leapfrog technology for Africa, an opportunity for us to build our infrastructure because, I mean, most African countries aren't even, my dad's 70. Most African countries are younger than my dad, you know what I mean? So quite young countries. And I think that there are many of the mechanisms, apps of Web3 that we built, a lot of that innovation, I think will actually happen on the continent. Some of the things that were said earlier about how you have legacy institutions like music studios and such holding you back from that innovation. I think you said you create the initial artwork form and able to leverage that to build value on top. I think the demographic dividend you have on the continent serves as what will actually propel a lot of the innovation in Web3. I think the challenge we have right now is that most people aren't aware of that and don't know how to find the different pieces of innovative value that they can put capital towards. And that's why we're building Mara as that foundational layer to unearth a lot of that value, whether it be protocols, NFT plays and music, that sort of thing. So I really do believe there's a gap that we're in right now that a lot of the innovation in Africa will tap into once it gets the tools via their phone.
Awesome. That was beautiful. That was great. I think we have to wrap up. Are we doing one question, or are we just wrapping up and just doing it? One question? Does anyone have a question for our illustrious panelists? They're awesome. Great bone structure. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. Take your time, Gabriel.
I'm curious what you think the primary sort of motivations are of what's driving the growth in Africa, like of crypto, because the sentiment remains so high, and of metaverse and of crypto. Like, what is sort of the driving force behind it? Because we hear so much about DeFi all the time, right? But that's such a limited population, and we're trying to get beyond it. So what are you seeing as what makes people really excited about it?
Sure, I'll even start from DeFi and go out. If you start with DeFi, the banking infrastructure sucks in Africa, right? So you don't want to use that. So you've got a whole generation that were raised on Instagram. And so they're looking to the outside to define themselves because the world that they're living in is mostly defined by 70 and 80-year-olds who created it back in the 1950s. And so there's an interesting social disconnect there where they're more in tune to what's happening everywhere than what's happening in their country. And they're seeking to define themselves that way because they're digitally native.
Well, thanks everybody. It was great to get to know you for the last 9.5 minutes.